So far, we have started to learn about how to factor polynomials. Today, we are going to focus on specifically trinomials, so I will show you how we factor those. So just to refresh what we've learned so far, we have learned to factor by factoring out a common factor. So in this example, 20w to the power of 3 minus 10w, what's in common is a 10w. After we divide each by 10w, we'd be left with 2w squared minus 1. So this is how we would factor this polynomial. However, not all polynomials have a common factor. For example, if we have x squared plus 9x plus 20, there is not one common factor besides 1 that can be factored out of this. So I'm going to show you today a different strategy. Once we factor these trinomials today, we're going to get an answer something like this, the multiplication of two binomials. So to show you how we go backwards through the process by factoring, let's first take a look at how we would multiply these. So I need to use the distributive property, multiplying everything in the first parentheses by everything in the second parentheses. So I have x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 12. These combine to make x squared plus 7x plus 12. So let's take a look at what we notice, what patterns we notice from the original multiplication problem here to the answer at the end. So in the original problem, we have a 4 and we have a 3. What do you notice about the relationship between this 4 and 3? And in our answer where we have the 7 and the 12, how are they connected? Hopefully you're thinking about the number puzzles we did the other day, where we took two numbers and we added them together to get one answer and we multiplied them together to get the other answer. Maybe you noticed that these two numbers, the 4 and the 3, they add to get the 7 and they multiply to get the 12. This pattern is always true. So these two numbers add to the middle one and they multiply to the last one, because when we multiply it out and combine, that's the pattern it follows every time. So looking at this example here, the last term is the one that the two numbers inside the parentheses will multiply to, and the middle term is the one that they will add to. So we are going to fill in, to factor this, we're going to get an answer today of two binomials multiplied by each other, an x plus or minus a number. So we're going to fill in the blanks, figuring out what two numbers multiply to get 20 and add to get 9. So I think the best way to do this is to start off by thinking of what two numbers multiply to 20. Our factor pairs of 20, 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and as I go along, I'm going to check to see if these add to get 9, because the numbers should also add to 9. 1 plus 20, no. 2 plus 10, no. 3 doesn't multiply to get 20. 4 times 5, yep. And oh, I'm noticing 4 plus 5 equals 9. So I know that my two numbers in the parentheses are going to be a positive 4 and a positive 5. Of course, we could always double check this to make sure that we get back to our original problem by multiplying it out. So I'd have x squared plus 5x plus 4x plus 20. These two combine. And yep, we get back to the original one that we started with. So we know that this is the correct factored answer. And that's really all there is to it today. We're just going to be focusing on factoring trinomials that follow this pattern. So there are 8 total problems on this page. Every single one of them, you'll follow the same pattern where you look to see what numbers multiply to the third term, and add to the middle term. Or more specifically, they multiply to the number by itself and they add to the single x's. And then you'll fill in with this here. So solve them. Once you're done, play the video again to check your answers. Later on in the class, I'm going to check to see that you have these 8 problems complete. So make sure that you try all of these 8 now and check them when you're done. These are the 8 answers that you should have gotten. Quick note is, since these 2 parentheses here are being multiplied, the order doesn't matter. So like for example on this first one, if you had the x plus 5 first, then multiplied times x plus 4, that's okay. Since in multiplication we can switch up the order, that's totally fine. One I wanted to highlight is number 3. For this one, the order is switched up where we have the squared variable last, then the middle one, then the number by itself first. We still follow the same pattern where we multiply to get the number by itself, we add to get the number with the single variable. Oh, I just realized that I have the wrong variable here. Let me quick change this to be a t. There we go. And then if we were to multiply this out to check our answer, we would get back to this original problem. So if there's any that you're not quite sure on, be sure that you ask me questions and yeah, let me know. I just realized I had another mistake. I hope you paid better attention to the variables than I did. Anyway, that's all for today.